Are you allergic to peanuts, tree nuts, and/or sesame seeds? Well, then you're in luck. Not because of that allergy, but because we're talking about those allergies today on My Allergist Dad. I will be talking with, you guessed it, My Allergist Dad, Dr. John Zwetschgenbaum, who we affectionately call Dr. Z, and we're going to respond to the user-submitted question, methods to follow to lessen or eliminate allergic reactions to peanuts, tree nuts, and sesame.
Throat tickle, a itchy eye, skin rash or a patch of hives. If allergies got you down bad, then just ask my allergist dad.
Hey everybody, welcome to My Allergist Dad. My name is Drew. I'm a comedian based out of Los Angeles, although today I am based out of Providence, Rhode Island in my childhood home. And I am joined by our co-host, the esteemed and highly decorated Dr. John Zwetschgenbaum.
Hi, Drew.
That's my dad.
You're not that far away.
I know, he's just across the hall. I'm in my room. He's in my sister's room, not in his office on the third floor because of bad internet. But we're going to get into some really interesting stuff today. We're going to talk about peanuts, tree nuts, and sesame and sort of ways to lessen or eliminate allergies. This is a personal topic as I have had peanut allergies my whole life, so I may even have some insights as well. But we will start, as we always do, with our fun little segment, Is This an Allergy? Dad, I'm going to ask you whether the thing that I experienced is an allergy. So at the beginning of the year, as listeners may know, there were a series of wildfires in the Los Angeles area. I live in Los Angeles, although right now I'm doing this recording from my childhood home a couple rooms away from my dad in Providence. Hence, those tuning in via video or watching the clips, if we released any, why there's so much stuff on the wall in my background. But in LA, during the wildfires, I lived pretty close. I was right on the edge of the evacuation zone to the ones in Pasadena and Altadena. I noticed my breathing, my asthma was activated. I was having a lot of breathing issues. So I had to get, a new inhaler. And after I started taking that, my breathing did ultimately improve, but I noticed, more wheezing and difficulty breathing. Is that related to allergies, to certain things that were in the air, or to irritants? Is asthma an allergy? I guess would be my question. Was my difficulty breathing, was that related to allergies?
It's so funny because at first when you asked me that, I was going to answer no. And then as I'm thinking about it, the answer is yes. And what's so interesting is how much everything is fluid and affected. I remember it from my experience where exercise was a huge trigger of my asthma and colds would go to my chest. Patients will say to me all the time, they don't have allergic asthma, they have cold-induced asthma, they have exercise-induced asthma. No, they have asthma that was triggered by colds and exercise, but the airway hyperreactivity was due to allergies. So for me, moving to a dust mite-free environment and ultimately desensitizing myself to dust mites, colds don't go to my chest and exercise no longer triggers my asthma. So what's interesting is a lot of studies now talk about how if someone has asthma and the fires affect ozone, where high up ozone is protective, but down low ozone is destructive. So your airway reactivity was increased from the ozone, and your airway reactivity was there because of your allergens, but in California, there are a lot less dust mites.
What do you mean ozone is protective? And that when it's up there versus reactive when it's lower?
So we all talk about holes and how we have we have weakened the ozone layer, created holes in the ozone layer, which increases sun intensity, sun exposure, pollutants. The ozone protects us from all the stuff high up. But down low, ozone has the opposite effect.
Is there more ozone are you saying because of LA or because of in fires, ozone?
The fires increase pollutants. They used to have a lot more ozone pollutants down low in LA from the smog. And as it improved over the last 50 years, you don't. Similarly in Colorado. But also the pollutants, the smog, the fire, all that, it has an amplification effect on dust mite allergy. Diesel exhausts do it. And so if you look up quickly in AI, you'll find an association between the fires, dust mites. So everything's interactive.
Because the wind and stuff, we're putting more mites in the air?
No, it affects your immune system. It's all at the microscopic level.
So the pollutants from the fires affect your immune system and make you more reactive to things that you're already reactive to, like dust mites?
Right, and enhances airway inflammation, which then make you more reactive and having more wheezing and asthma symptoms during this time.
So asthma is airway inflammation.
Exactly. Everything, asthma at the level of the airways, it's all about inflammation. And it's that inflammation that makes your airways reactive and the smooth muscles that tighten up more reactive. As you get rid of the inflammation, your airways relax and are less reactive. 40 years ago, everybody just focused on treating the symptoms using bronchodilators like albuterol or at that time, Alupent. And now the primary treatment of asthma is to go after the inflammation of the airways. So the fires affected the inflammation that then made the airways more reactive. So it's all interreactive. Everything in your immune system, you can't compartmentalize things.
Okay, there you go. So short answer, that was an allergy. Very educational to get to that answer. I don't have a good segue, but we are going to jump into our user-submitted question. So my dad's practice, Allergy and Asthma Physicians of Rhode Island, has a number of wonderful patients in the state of Rhode Island, and they have been very generous and have anonymously submitted various questions they have about allergies that they would like us to discuss. And one of them, although not, I guess, grammatically a question, but good topic to talk about, was methods to follow to lessen or eliminate allergic reaction to peanuts, tree nuts, and sesame. So there's a few things to break down there. I guess let's start with, how would you lessen or eliminate allergic reactions to nuts and related allergens?
So it's an interesting question because most people would go focus on medical treatment, immune treatment, etc.
What is immune treatment?
Assessing the immune response, redirecting the immune system, immunotherapy, improving tolerance to the allergens. So what's so interesting here is that the patient's main focus of the question is not what the question seems to be apparent. What they're asking is what most people do. What can they do for their lifestyle to make them less allergic? Once someone has the allergies or developed their allergy antibodies, you're kind of stuck with it. But how reactive you are to the allergen can change based on your lifestyle. It's really interesting. The other day, I was at a dinner meeting with researchers, and someone said to me, and I commented how everybody's reacting more, especially since the pandemic. Everybody's having more allergies, and people will say this all the time. And he said, I don't understand. I said, everything that's happening now is affecting our immune function.
Do you mean everyone's having more food allergies, more environmental allergies, or both?
They're just completely reactive. They're having more environmental reactions. They're hiving out. They're itching. They're wheezing. They're coughing. They're sneezing. Their immune system is hyperreactive. And that's because their ability to tolerate the immune hyperreactivity, to tolerate your environment, has been reduced. And a lot of it has to do with stress. Stress affects our immune response to suppress. And the less you can suppress, the more reactive.
So basically what you're saying is Allergies are your immune system's responses to things that most people would not react to. But if your immune system reacts to something like allergens, then that's what the allergic reaction is.
Correct. So someone said to me just yesterday, she said, I used to have really bad allergies. Then I started turmeric for hip pain. And she found that her nasal allergies improved because she was less inflamed.
From turmeric, like the spice?
Yes, but you can't focus on just one treatment. At the same time, she was trying other things. It's all about getting your body back into alignment. So you look at two things with the peanuts. You can go so far by being in alignment, sleeping, etc., but you still have the allergy antibodies. That's when, in addition, we have new methods to do it.
So if you're allergic to peanuts, you can meditate, you can sleep more, but you're still probably going to be allergic to peanuts.
Correct, but your threshold to react may increase.
If your threshold increases, it means you can have more peanuts without having some sort of allergic reaction.
Right, or you might tolerate a little bit more. So you can have people who tolerate things. It's also, there's so much, your immune system, your hormone system, where you are in your cycle for females, it all affects it.
What cycle?
Menstrual cycle.
And what's that?
When women have their periods.
What's that?
You know what that is.
I'll do some Google searching.
I guess we didn't educate you well enough, but we'll work on it later. I'll have a father-son talk after that, or maybe your mother will.
Guest host.
But there are ways to turn it off that we do in our practice as well. We can desensitize patients so that those who are very allergic to peanuts can, by desensitization, meaning we get them to their eating peanuts every day. And by eating peanuts every day, it prevents them from reacting and allows them to eat peanuts normally.
So you're saying you give people peanuts to make them not allergic to peanuts?
In a sense, yes, but not as simple as that.
How do you decide is it about amount? Is it about quantity of peanuts? Is it a certain part of the peanut that you give them so that they're not allergic to the rest of it?
You build up to a certain amount of peanuts. So you have your body that is allergic to peanuts. So you can't just give them peanuts, they'll have a severe allergic reaction. But you slowly desensitize them so they build up blocking antibodies and you occupy the reactive centers.
Have you seen Princess Bride?
Not in a long time.
Do you know the part where he takes the iocane powder and he doesn't die? Spoiler alert, but also, it's from the 80s, so I think I'm allowed to spoil it. And he says he's been giving himself a little bit of iocane powder over the years so that it doesn't kill him. It's not a poison for him anymore.
It's kind of a similar situation, but you start with what you call micrograms, which are 1,000 times less than a milligram. And you have patients tolerate that level because there's levels people tolerate. And then what they do is they have that diluted powder every day for a week. And we updose them every week for 6 months until they get to the point where they can have a dozen peanuts.
Is it anything like where a vaccine you give like an exposure to something like dead cells of a virus and then later your body can fight it? Or is it the reverse where you're giving it something so they don't fight it?
You're desensitizing. You're slowly giving small amounts so they become more tolerant and less reactive. And we do it in two ways. We do it orally, where they ultimately eat peanuts, or we do it under the tongue sublingually, which is what we did with you 18 years ago.
Wait, how is oral different than under the tongue? Isn't that still in the mouth?
Under the tongue, so oral, you can achieve more, but it's a lot more reactive and risky. Where under the tongue, you did it at home. There are less of the cells that lead to allergic reaction and more that lead to tolerance.
So under the tongue, these are drops that you're taking with micrograms, a microgram dosage of your allergen so that over time, your body stops being reactive to that allergen.
Right, and that's how we do it for dust mites, cats, dogs, pollens, etc. And we do it for sesame, we do it for peanuts, we do it for tree nuts.
What is the connection between sesame and peanuts? Because I've never been allergic to sesame, but sometimes like if there's a really strong tahini, I'll smell it and my brain almost thinks it's peanut and is like ready to react to it, but then it's fine.
I never did well with plants, but isn't it more of a legume seed?
Sesame is not a legume.
What is it? It's a seed.
It's a seed from a flowering plant.
Right. So,
some sources describe. You see, I'm doing the AI overview, so that's my mistake.
I do that all the time, but it works sometimes.
Sesame is a seed and is evolved from a plant. There are common proteins shared between other seeds, peanut, tree nut, and certain plants.
Correct. And a lot of them, it's birch. It's called the PR10 protein. So a lot of them share that same protein. Almonds, walnuts, peanuts, hazelnut, soy, they all have this PR10 protein, even certain fruits. And that's why patients get that itchy oral mouth. And it all has to do with the cross-reactivity with birch pollen. And so that's why you'll have a positive skin test.
So nuts pollinate from birch? Or it's just that they have a shared protein with birch trees?
They have a shared protein with birch tree. It's a protein, just like there are certain proteins that certain cells share certain things in different parts of your body. There's a protein called the PR10 protein that's on various foods, plants, etc., even potatoes, raw potatoes that cross-react with the PR10 protein, which is on birch pollen.
So when you have an allergy, your reaction is to the protein.
Your reaction is to that shared protein for the type of reaction that patients get this oral allergy syndrome, but it's also the reason that they will have various positive allergy tests, even though they say they eat these foods or it doesn't bother them. It's the test is recognizing shared allergens with the pollen to which they're allergic.
I was allergic I'm still allergic to peanuts, but I'm less allergic than I used to be because I went on the sublingual drop therapy that made me less and less allergic. I used to be allergic to tree nuts, used to be allergic to shellfish. I'm only allergic to walnuts and peanuts now because of this program. The question then back to the protein. I can go to Five Guys and I can eat their French fries without getting a reaction. Everything there is fried in peanut oil. I'm allergic to peanuts, but I don't react to the peanut oil. Is that because peanut oil does not have peanut protein in it, or does it just have much less peanut protein because it's the oil and not the nut?
So pure peanut oil is not supposed to have the allergenic protein in it. People are always worried that it may have a contaminant of it, but pure peanut oil, that's different than people who are allergic to shrimp and it's shared with the fryolator and they seem to react because that allergen can be shared.
Because if you're shared with the fryolator, that means the shrimp itself could be in there and that has the protein. Whereas if it were shrimp oil, which I don't know if that exists, would people be allergic to shrimp oil if they had a shrimp allergy?
So I didn't use that example as well. It was more that it may just be a small amount. I'm not a cook, as you know.
Peanut oil, in theory, should not have any peanut protein in it. In a perfect world where it has no peanut protein in it, could someone with the craziest peanut allergy still react to it?
Probably not. And the pure peanut oil is not supposed to trigger it.
But not worth testing this.
When it comes to allergies, there's so much anxiety around it that a lot of patients start feeling symptoms if they see someone down the hall having symptoms. It's very stressful. The stress associated with food allergies and the anxiety is often worse than the true reaction they might get.
And you were also just saying that stress in and of itself contributes to higher allergies.
Correct, but I meant the constant anxiety and worry over it. But stress in your daily lives affects your immune system, makes you more reactive to infections, and it also makes your allergic propensity enhance.
Are there such things as allergic infections, or are you just saying in general, being stressed can affect how you get infections and deal with infections?
Stress seems to affect your ability to fight infections. It suppresses your immune system.
There's no infections related to allergies.
No, but it is actually, again, you touched upon a question that appears to have a very straightforward answer, but it doesn't. So a lot of patients will say that once they get under their allergies under control, they have less colds and flus and less sinus infections. And I always thought it had to do with a more intact airway, which it probably does, and a more intact nasal passages where you have less chance for the virus to attack. But there was an article I read earlier this year, and it spoke how your innate immune system, that's your immune system that hasn't been trained, it doesn't work as well in patients with allergies. So when it's busy with the allergies, it does not fight off viral infections as well.
And so you're saying if someone has allergies, their immune system, when preoccupied with reacting to those allergies or reacting as those allergies, it'll have more difficulty fighting an infection or a virus.
Possibly that's a way to interpret it, but all it showed was the immune fighting ability with these interferons, these are viral fighting in chemicals, is reduced or absent.
Because I have allergies. Is it like while I'm having an allergy attack and I'm sneezing, I'm going to have a harder time fighting a virus? Or just at any given time as someone with allergies, I'll have more trouble fighting a virus?
The latter. At any given time. That's why it's so important to get your allergy reactivity under control, because once you're having better control of your allergies, you have better fighting of viruses.
So that's a pretty good advertising hook for you to get more patients to get their allergens in line. It's not just affecting your allergies, it's affecting viruses, infections, cold, flu, you name it.
And again, it goes to lifestyle. It's also your lifestyle. I had a patient who told me that she got her son, I got them to do the Juice Plus, take all the fruits and vegetables. And when she finally had him doing that, because he was an extremely picky eater, she said he went from missing 22 days of school to 2 days of school. And so that's what I was talking about, how lifestyle and how we take care of ourselves can also improve our response to allergies.
So basically, getting more vegetables, getting more vitamins will help your immune system, which will help your allergy reactivity.
Exactly. Fruits and vegetables are key.
But couldn't you see in theory that if you have a stronger immune system and you have allergies, would a stronger immune system then be more reactive to allergies because it's more robust and then it's sensing more things? Because if allergies are reactions to things with your immune system, like wouldn't a strong immune system react strongly to things that it thinks are threats?
I think that a strong immune system means a more efficient, better working immune system rather than just how busy it is. Strong immune system means that it's more intact, it's more balanced, it's doing what it's supposed to do, which then allows you to fight infections well.
So it's kind of like a sports team. Like you could have a sports team, like you could have a football team where everybody's running around doing everything, but if they're not coordinated, they're not going to win.
Exactly. It's the quality, not the quantity.
Ooh, speaking of, should I check the PAT score? Ooh, it's 7-6.
Wow, that's better than you thought.
Well, I don't know. The Saints aren't really good right now, but who knows how good the Pats are.
Better this year.
Better this year.
Just like we say about the immune system. It's better this year.
Do you say that? Is that always the case with patients?
Yeah, they'll say, better this year. They'll come in and they're on the sublingual allergy drops and they'll say, no, I'm better this year. Say, yes, I don't see you as often.
So I guess then to the question, basically to lessen your reaction, your recommendation would probably be some form of, it is likely the sublingual immunotherapy. So your recommendation as a way to lessen your reactivity is to do this treatment that is controlled dosages of controlled dose exposures to controlled dosages of your allergens.
If you're an appropriate candidate.
And what makes an appropriate candidate?
So unfortunately, people who are allergic, people with food allergies, environmental allergies, react in different ways to many things. So there's this entity that's been around, but it's becoming more and more common. It's called eosinophilic esophagitis. Sounds pretty cool. And basically what it is is those same patients, the immune system, and we find that diet does play a role, is closing up the esophagus. And it's causing constrictions and fibrosis of the esophagus. The food gets stuck. What they found is that some patients, it brings it out, but as soon as you stop it, it goes away. If you start the sublingual and you're starting to show signs of eosinophilic esophagitis, and if it's related to the desensitization, you just stop the desensitization and it goes away.
Okay, so you're saying if you have certain allergies and you're taking these drops, it might cause your throat inflammation, the esophagitis,
Right.
but it goes
It's only
away as soon as
2%.
you stop taking it because it's just
Yeah.
exposure to those allergies.
Yeah, it's reversible.
What is the relationship then? I guess we already talked about it. The relationship between peanuts, tree nuts, and sesame is that shared protein. Does that mean you would use the same sublingual allergy drops to treat those allergies, or do you have to refine it for each of those things?
No, you actually can. So you don't treat the foods, you treat the allergen. So in other words, I personally used to get an itchy throat from honeydew melon, and that's because it shares allergens with some of the fall weeds. So when I went on the desensitization to my fall allergies, and once I got those under control, I'm not bothered by honeydew melon. A lot of times, patients who just get itchy throat from a lot of raw fruits, vegetables, if you become less allergic to birch pollen, which is the major tree pollen allergy in our area, so as you improve your threshold of reactivity to birch, you improve your threshold of reactivity to the other ones.
So what would happen if I ate like birch bark if I'm allergic to peanuts and walnuts?
Maybe you'll have an itchy throat, but you may not because it's the pollen you're allergic to. No.
Got
How
it.
many
You know,
people
or
eat birch
also
bark?
back to the first thing. So birch bark is really good as like a fire starter. Like if you don't have paper, if you have a bunch of like fallen thin birch bark, it's a really good thing to light. And then that lights the twigs and then it lights the bigger fires, like the way to start your fire. If you're allergic to peanuts and walnuts and stuff, and you start like burning a fire with birch bark, would that birch bark affect me more than others? Or would it just be
No.
pure smoke?
No, it's just like people who are allergic to walnuts worry about walnut wood. It's, first of all, your peanut allergy, maybe not your walnut, is due to a different protein than the protein that's shared with the birch, because we do component testing. Because people who have the peanut allergy cross-reactivity with birch either don't react at all to peanuts, they eat them fine, or they might get an itchy throat. So it's a different allergen that you're allergic to.
So it's a
not an
different.
issue for
So
you.
they share a protein, but the protein I'm allergic to is a different one.
Correct. They're called ARAH proteins. And the key, there's 6 of them. And it's when
In
those who
total
are,
or in a peanut?
there's 6 key ARH proteins that we test for in peanuts. ARH 1, 2, 3, 6, 8, and 9. And patients who test positive to peanuts but eat peanuts, and they do have birch pollen allergies, will only test positive to the ARAH8 allergen. And
Because that's not in birch.
that's
Or no,
the
that
one
is the
shared.
birch one.
Right. And people who have anaphylaxis can be positive to ARAH8, but they're also positive to the ones that are at risk, 1, 2, and 3.
So 8 is one that doesn't typically lead to anaphylaxis then?
Correct. So if that's your only positive, your likelihood of having a severe anaphylaxis is very small.
Got it.
Allergies are cool.
Oh yeah. So I think we're coming towards the end. I guess then anaphylaxis is an inflammation of the throat. Is it the same kind of inflammation as asthma, but just to a crazier or a higher degree?
No, it's not the same thing. Anaphylaxis is a severe, life-threatening, systemic, immediate allergic reaction. The inflammation of asthma is it's a late phase inflammation.
But
Yeah,
is it the
acute-
same type of inflammation in the throat, just to a different degree?
No, anaphylaxis is an acute allergic response that is affecting the whole body. And it affects the tight junctions of your blood vessels. There's airway
So is it
constriction. That's a localized allergic reaction. Anaphylaxis is a life-threatening systemic reaction, affects you all over.
So where else do you see the reaction if not just like the closing of the airways?
In anaphylaxis,
Yeah.
some patients it's in the skin, it's in the gut, it's in the airways, not just the throat, it's in the lungs. It's affecting the blood vessels, and your blood vessels become leaky and they dilate, so you become hypotensive.
What's that?
And that means your blood pressure is so low that you don't have blood go into your brain and your vital organs.
So these are all things I think it's pretty safe to say you don't want. And these are also things that you could lessen the risk of happening to you or eliminate the risk of happening to you if you're a good enough candidate, as we're learning, if you go on something like sublingual immunotherapy, which is a good way to lessen or eliminate your food allergies.
Right. And that's why we talk about sublingual as having a better safety profile than the oral. The oral, what we call OIT, where you go up to eating peanuts, it has a better way of truly desensitizing you instead of with sublingual, does it over time, but basically improves your threshold. But the oral, every time you're taking it, which is why you come every week to the doctor's office, like allergy shots, why the sublingual has a better safety profile, has a higher risk of life-threatening anaphylaxis. So
oral has a higher anaphylaxis risk because it's a much bigger dosage.
Right. The way it's delivered, it's kind of versus IV and injected. That's why everything is a balance of slowly doing things to balance, not reacting as you're building up tolerance. It's like a dance.
It's a beautiful thing, a beautiful dance between your allergens and your proteins.
The immune system is kind of cool, and we're learning so much more about it than when I was even doing my training. And it's incredible how much the immune system has been affected by everything that's going on around us. It's a very fluid system that's affected by everything going on in the body. It's not just an isolated system. It's totally affected by everything.
I think we should all keep that in mind as we go about our days. Just like we're all affected by everything going on in the world, our immune system is affected by everything going on in the world.
How you feel affects your immune system. So it's vice versa. So when you're stressed out, not only is your immune system not working as well, you start breaking out in hives. So it's all related.
It's almost like stress reactions mimic allergic reactions.
It's affecting your immune system. But that's another day topic.
Adam, write that down. That'll stress and allergies. But anyway, I'm Drew. This is my dad, Dr. Zwetschgenbaum. This has been My Allergist Dad. And thank you all for listening.
Thank you.
If allergies got you down bad, then just ask my allergist, My Allergist Dad.
The My Allergist Dad podcast is for general informational and entertainment purposes only and does not constitute the practice of medicine, nursing, or other professional healthcare services, including the giving of medical advice, and no doctor-patient relationship is formed. The use of information on this podcast or materials linked from this podcast is at the user's own risk. The content of this podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Users should not disregard or delay in obtaining medical advice for any medical condition they may have and should seek the assistance of their healthcare professionals for any such conditions.